Let's go. Let's go. So what did we change? I don't know. I set it to very fast. Lowered the bitrate. Maybe I had the bitrate too high. I had it like 8,000. Because I noticed my VODs on YouTube weren't at 1080p anymore for the past couple days since after I streamed Proving Grounds. So I was like, what's going on with that? So I started messing around with it. I guess I broke some. But it looks good now. I want 1080p and 60 frames per second. And I got an awesome computer. I feel like I could probably do more than that if I... But I'm not tech savvy enough to realize how to do any of that stuff. Nor do I care enough, if we're being honest. I got a message today on Twitch, on Twitter. I get these a lot, but this one seemed like more of a personalized hoax. Hi, Popgun, I just found you on YouTube. Dope stuff. You should take a look into at the YouTube King. They can help you get sub viewers and YouTube monetization so you can start making money from your videos. It's a secret many of the big YouTubers use. I just spoiled a secret. I just put it on stream. They didn't want you to know about that. Thank you for the raid, Angaroo. And everybody coming in from the Angaroo stream. You guys came in just in time. Usually, I get a raid in the, oh, that's the wrong thing. I get a raid in the middle of the stream. And I can't really acknowledge it, because then things will go off. She came just in time. I'm breaking everything today. That's... God. JPEG, I'm just gonna hire you to run the podcast from now on. Everything just broke. Yeah, no, I had a... Where is it? Is this even the background? That's the background. Let's lock that. Oh, wait, that was locked. Alerts, that's what I want to move. Let's move the alert over there. Alright, somebody follow me. Let's see what it looks like. Lock that. Is this... There we go. Thank you for the follow. Now your name doesn't really show up that large, but at least my face is in front of my face. Thank you for the raid. Angaroo. Dunkaroo. Yeah, I don't know if this is where I want my webcam. It's like perfectly centered. If it's off. Somebody's gonna watch episode 182 directly after 181 on YouTube, and it's gonna be slightly off, and they're gonna be tripping all kinds of it seems like that's too far below. That's good enough. As with everything else I do on this show, it's good enough. Use the arrow keys? You can do that. What? That looks pretty good. Down. Alright. 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 Oh boy. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or a VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify, while you are counting the number of times that JPEG missed the correct basket while on Clam Blitz Spec Cam, challenging your co-commentator to a 1v1 while on stream, asking in help desk if you're allowed to type the word ass in the Battlefy chat, whatever it is that you're doing right now. Appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. The last episode of the Popcast was where I talked about SOS number, 112? Is that what it was? The whole situation with that, previewed Low Ink. It was the most viewed live episode of the Popcast ever. I've never had that many people average, peak, especially when there was no raid for that stream either, to come in for that. So we're coming off the heels of the most viewed episode of the Popcast ever. I mean the one that we did with Squid School is the peak, but that one's kind of cheating. Jim rated that one right before it. Does it annoy me that that's the most viewed episode? Kind of, because I feel like most people just tune into that one just to hear my take on quote unquote drama, which isn't what I want to be spending a lot of time talking about. I don't want to be discussing stupid stuff. I want to talk about the actual video game that we're here to play, that we are here to talk about. That's the only thing I really want to do. So I know the numbers are going to dip back down, but that's all. I don't care. I don't want high number of viewers if the only thing I have to talk about is stupid crap going on within the community. Let's talk about the actual video game. So I'm happy to get back to doing that today. News of tournaments may be of interest to the casual listener of the podcast. SAC qualifier number 2 is taking place this weekend on Saturday. If you missed the first qualifier because you were going to play in the Overlord tournament, well, good news. There is no Overlord tournament going on this Saturday. In fact, I don't think there's much of anything else going on this Saturday. Actually, isn't the Mode Cup going on Saturday as well? I didn't see it in the community calendar, but I think that one's going on Saturday as well. I don't know what the mode for that one is, but everybody that's played in Mode Cup wouldn't be playing in SAC anyways. They're not eligible. Mug Cup is on Sunday? Mug Cup. That's not the Mug and Woo thing, is it? That's like the other one? I've seen that one in action. We're just not going to give that one any unwanted attention here on the Popcast. We're just going to focus on SAC qualifier number 2. We'll probably spend most of the time on Monday talking about it as well, do like a mid-season segment recap of what's going on with that, because the rules have changed as far as what qualifies you for the final thing or whatever. Today we are going to be recapping Low Inc. Delta, Alpha, Beta, Gamma, not in that order specifically, but those are the things that we're going to be talking about as far as Low Inc. is concerned. Hey, Splatomax took place on Saturday as well. I commentated it. Grand Finals with Dura. We'll talk about that to some extent in the weekly recap and maybe some other tournaments. Who knows? All that and more. But first, let's start off with the JPEG. As it was announced on Twitter at the end of the tournament yesterday, that was the official last head TO in Low Inc. as far as JPEG is concerned. Officially stepping down as head TO for Low Inc. as he announced on Twitter. If you haven't seen the tweet to that, I guess I could pull it up and put it into chat. That would be an important thing to do, because this is required reading material to go along with things here. Where is that? Where is that tweet? I've seen the initial tweet and then the whole thing, though. The me, yes, the you. Boom. JPEG's Twitter thread. If you want to look through it, you should. A few stats that I want to point out because I did a little bit of homework myself before I came on here to talk about JPEG. The first tournament that JPEG officially was the head TO for was the September of 2020 Low Inc. The stats from this is the amount of tournaments that JPEG has run as the head TO for Low Inc. That would be 32. The total number of teams that played in those 32 tournaments combined, 3,365 teams. Now, those are all not different teams. Obviously, those are a bunch of duplicates, but those have many teams sign up in those 32 tournaments combined. 3,365. How many players make up all of those teams? Well, it's hard to tell. I'm sure there's some way to pull that exact data. But let's be generous and say that each team averages 5 players. The number is probably a lot higher because a lot of teams roll in 6, 7, 8 players deep into Low Inc. And if we made rosters bigger, you guys would find ways to get 20 players on your roster. And you would still need subs on Saturday and Sunday. But if we just did an average of 5 per team, that is 16,825 players that participated in a Low Inc. led by JPEG. 1 website, 3 Popcast appearances, one of which he hosted, 2 high inks, and 1 incident. all encompasses the Hall of Fame TOing resume that JPEG put on just as a head TO. Now, it's worth noting that JPEG is A, not dead, and B, not stepping away from much of anything. As you can lead through the reason I posted the thread in the chat is that you can see JPEG's own words without having to take the things I say, because I'm giving secondhand information here. This isn't exact information. I think last time I said JPEG was retiring from the scene, and that's honestly not true. Stepping down as a head TO, we still expect JPEG to be around to some capacity to help out with low ink. So let's put it this way. It's not expected for JPEG to help out, but obviously with a lot of technical stuff, it'd be nice if JPEG could help out. The thing is, though, it's no longer, hey, you're not the head TO, so it's no expectation for you to help us do certain things. And there was a lot of onboarding this past couple of months to help kind of pass on the knowledge or the things that we kind of relied on JPEG for in the past. And now other people can all kind of step up and do those things, which is something we should be doing anyways. Succession planning, I believe, is the official corporate term that we're looking for with stuff like that. JPEG's still going to be doing a lot more production stuff, obviously with IPL. Listed that he is the head chair for the designer of his esports club. I might have butchered that one completely. And helped code the overlays of a Smash Major with Level 1, and hopes to do some more stuff with Level 1 in the future. Hey, if you guys know what Level 1 is, or if you don't know what Level 1 is, you should. If you've been to any land in North America, it is streamed, produced, and run essentially by Level 1. So, nicely done there that JPEG's going to be involved in that organization to some extent. To what total extent, I don't know. And obviously, I don't need to be spreading information that may or might not be exact. JPEG, as I've gotten to know him over the course of the past 3 years, has become a good friend of mine. Has always supported my ideas as a head TO while still questioning some of the things. It wasn't just, hey, I want to do this. It was always, okay, why do you want to do this? What value does this add? Is it conflict with this other thing that we do? And when I kind of came up with the idea that I wanted to do bring back testing grounds, and I wanted to run a new Friday night tournament that was catered towards the highest echelon of players in the community. That was just an idea that I had, but I didn't know where else I wanted to go with that. JPEG was the one who DM'd me and said, hey, I got an idea. What if you call it Proving Grounds? And here's some of the things that I could do with the overlays and the production and stuff, and we could make it really cool. And when JPEG DM'd me that, all of a sudden this was just Proving Grounds was just an idea, and then it became a reality off of the JPEG kind of pushing me with his production ideas. And I was like, and then I got excited, and now here we are 15 Proving Grounds later, with the overlays JPEG needs produced for us, and all the times we have to ping them to make the comm production stuff. So JPEG, just all around, just a really awesome guy. You don't need me to tell you guys that. Obviously, all of you guys know, especially if you've been to a LAN before, you've seen JPEG. He's usually wearing a beanie, and when he doesn't wear a beanie, people don't recognize him. He usually has his eyes wide the hell open every time that you see him. I don't think he's ever blinked once in his life that I've actually interacted with him, which I believe is 3 times in person, twice at a Riptide, once at Low Tide City. He is going to be at the most recent Low Tide, where I am not. So, and I'm sure he's still going to have some stickers for you guys. I still have a ton of these I've been banned, but all I got from Low Ink being banned was this sticker. I'm sure he's got several of one of those, and if he doesn't, I can ship out the extra ones I have to him to hand out at Riptide. Um, Obviously, still go up to him, take pictures with him. He's still going to be a massive part of the community. He's still going to be known as the Low Ink guy, the help desk man. And congratulations on no longer having to deal with the idiots in help desk. I'm still going to stick around. I'm still going to be a part of it for a good chunk of time. I'll take a month off, maybe two. We'll see how how Pop Gun Jr. is kind of coming out here. But I just wanted to point out how important JPEG has been to the growth of Low Ink over the past 3 years. And all the success that Low Ink is going to continue to have is because of the foundation that JPEG put forth. And, well, maybe more so the foundation that Hoenn and Kraken put forth. And then people like JPEG stretched it another mile. And then people like me came in and stretched it further. And now, as we get to find out, somebody new is coming in to see if they can stretch it even further, push Low Ink even beyond the bullcrap that it's been the past couple of months. There is no replacing JPEG. I don't like the term, oh, who's going to replace this person? You can't replace certain people. What you do is you just put a different person in the chair, and they're going to bring a different ideas, different perspectives, different outlook on how this tournament should go. So who's the new TO that's not replacing JPEG, but is instead filling that seat? It just so happens to be Brush. One of my favorite people to commentate with, one of my favorite people to make fun of for being a child, and just an overall awesome dude. Brush has been really stepping up the past couple of months as far as Low Ink is concerned. That one Low Ink where JPEG was out for all of Saturday and my internet was out, so I could only just look at help desk on my phone on my data. Brush pretty much ran that tournament. Brush pretty much just ran that one straight all the way through. So that was kind of an obvious choice for somebody to kind of step up into that head TOing role. I've often said that Brush is the future of the scene. Well, today he becomes the present. So we're excited for what could possibly take place with the addition of Brush, and hopefully he doesn't suck. Absolutely everybody on staff crushed it this month. Crushed it. What a great Low Ink this was. I tweeted out this was going to be the bestest, smoothest, most wonderful Low Ink of all time. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Don't answer that. Just nod your head. Yes. It was better than last month, right? Even though nothing changed from last month to this month, we didn't add the lag rules. Everybody and their mom was telling us to add lag rules. We didn't, and nobody's complained about it since. Who'd have thought? Maybe, just maybe, what happened last month was a rare one-off situation, and we shouldn't overreact by making the tournament worse by adding in rules that would cause a whole lot more issues to one instance that happens once in a red sun. Maybe just not change anything, and the tournament still turns out just fine. Now, I say that knowing full well next month somebody is going to teleport all over the place and never DC, and then you guys are going to come at us like that. But hey, who cares? Life goes on, unless it doesn't. No major issues. The only real issue was the Discord naming thing, kind of slowing down our captain roles. I feel like that's an easy fix on our end. That the Discord naming bot feature, we could just fix what you have to enter on the Discord side so that our bot can give you guys the role automatically. Now, to the people saying they did not check in because they didn't get pinged because they didn't have the captain role. Okay, I get what you're saying. However, are you really going to put the blame on us when you had a full hour to figure out that you needed to check in, and we had 140-ish teams who didn't need the ping to check in. I don't really buy into that. A lot of the things that we're doing with low ink, and one of the things I'm trying to implement into how we go about TOing is to teach you guys to be more self-sufficient, to not come to help desk unless it's something you truly don't understand, but to find the information yourselves. We want to teach you guys how to figure out things on your own so that when you go off to other tournaments, you don't make it obvious that you came from low ink. You already know how to figure out things on your own. So that's why whenever you come to help desk and my answer is, did you look here? Or have you tried looking in this spot? I'm not answering the question for you. I'm trying to lead you to figure out how to answer the question for yourself. And it's frustrating because there's a lot of people that sign up for low ink that have never done tournaments before. So it might come across as us being a little bit douchey when we do stuff like that. But we're trying to teach you guys we're not going to fish for you. We're teaching you how to catch your own fish. And it does lead to some awkward stuff here and there, but it saves you guys down the road. Trust me. Don't tell me to watch my tone. My tone was flawless. My tone was flawless this past weekend. Of course, what made this tournament so great wasn't the fact that the TOs are freaking awesome. It's the fact that we saw the usual non-meta comps make their appearance yet again in another low ink. We saw it a couple of months ago when Squid Strikes won with Sploosh. Squid Strikes dominated with the Sploosh. We've seen it pretty much every, I wouldn't say every single month. There's some months where a obvious meta team comes in and wins using things like that. But we've seen carbon rollers. We haven't seen GooTubers, but we've seen just about everything that goes into what makes a low ink very fun to see that you don't really see in other tournaments. When you have a skill cap tournament, it makes it easier for teams to go off meta. It makes it easier for teams to do things other than just splash and sploosh, or I'm sorry, splash and machine and ballpoint, even though we did see a lot of splash and machine and ballpoint at times and a lot of sloshers as well. But when the skill cap's limited, you don't have to do the meta. True skill can kind of shine through when everything is under a certain kind of ceiling. And that's where you saw that's why you typically see some more interesting things in low ink, and why you don't really see a lot of good things or interesting off meta comps outside of low ink, because just because it works in low ink doesn't mean it's going to work elsewhere, but it still makes low ink interesting to watch. You also see a lot of one tricks. A lot of people who one trick a low tier weapon that figured out how to really grind that weapon in a way and to overcome the weaknesses that weapon has and gets the most value out of it. I talked about when K with Ink Sync. That was when they were playing, what was that, October, where Ink Sync finished in second place. K used nothing but Dapple Dualies, but because they've been using it for so long, they kind of figured out the weaknesses, how to work around the weaknesses, how to get a little bit better with the weapon in ways that other people who don't grind a lot of time into weapons like that, because it's not fun for a lot of people, don't figure out how to overcome those weaknesses. You see a lot of that in low ink, because a lot of you have been playing in low ink for one time with the same weapons you've been using over and over. Eventually, you start to figure out how to get a little bit better with that thing. And then you get yesterday, where things just got, even for low ink standards, a little overly silly. I don't know what Team 7 was doing. I've absolutely no idea. I haven't gone back and like deep dived and thought critically about all the comps, like, oh, well, here's how this makes sense with that. I'm not smart enough for that. I have no idea what it is that they're doing with the comps that they're working. It worked, kind of. It reminded me slightly of Citria, the team that finished in second place, I believe, to Sia that month, back at the end of last year, where the weapons they were using, at one point they used Tri-Stringer and Reflux Stringer in the same map. And it's like, what are you doing? It seems like you guys are just making it up as you go along, but still you get pretty far in the tournament with things that are a little bit off meta like that. As a commentator, you don't want to be negative, especially if you're commentating in low ink, because you got to understand that there's going to be some silly things coming out at some point with the weapons that you're using there. What you want to try to do is make sense of what it is that the team is doing. Like it's almost like a puzzle that as a commentator you need to solve within the 5-minute game. Okay, well here's why they're doing this particular thing. You saw that us try to do that when Aquatic Vanguard pulled out their WTF comp on Splat Zone's Hagglefish, double junior paintbrush. What in the world are you guys doing is my initial reaction. And then as I start to think about it, okay, maybe they're trying to create like 2 bubbles, like just wall out the zone. Maybe they're trying to overemphasize the splat bombs they got going on there. Maybe they just want to try to prove that paintbrush can be effective outside of messing around in turf war with your friends. I don't know. But you're trying to like explain it the best you can to the audience without saying the thing which is in the back of your mind, which is these guys are crazy for trying something like this. There's no way in hell this is actually going to work. And to Aquatic Vanguard's credit, it almost worked until the flaw of the comp came into display, which was you have almost no way to break out of a lockout unless somebody just pops off. So you try to be a little bit... You try to explain to the audience what the mindset of these teams are. With Team 7, I cannot explain the mindset behind what they're doing. At one point on Clan Blitz Mako Mart, they used Vanilla Dapples, Vanilla Splattershot Nova, and Vanilla Sploosh. I don't know how that works. It didn't because they lost, but they almost won that game in particular. It makes absolutely no sense, that lineup of comps right there. So I'm just kind of sit there just like, all right, well, let's just see what happens. And then they dumped out that comp to bring out a Dynamo, which was dominating the other team when they used the Dynamo. And then a set later, when they go to the same exact map and mode that they were using Dynamo on before, they dropped Dynamo for something completely different. I think another Blaster is what they pulled out. It just seemed like they were just making up things as they went along. And even when things were successful, they were like, well, what if we find a way to win again in a different way? Like, what if it was too easy last time. Let's try to reinvent the wheel as we go along right here. Team 7 was fun to watch. And I don't really know much about them, and I still have no idea. But it was still awesome to see them on stream. It was fun to commentate them. And, yeah, it's if somebody just... If they just had somebody just wrangle them in a little bit, like let's just take the silly meter and dial it down just slightly, maybe we could figure out some things. And I'm not sitting here saying, oh, just throw a splash and a machine in there and you're good to go. No, I mean just like none of this makes sense. Or maybe they're just playing 4D chess and I'm just sitting here being the old man trying to figure it all out, and I never will. But that's not the team that won, was it? Was it Team 7 or 1 through 6 that came before them? No. The team that won the whole tournament goes out to Ikarioku. The team that took, in their own kind of way, the last resort approach. With Stamper, Wiper, Splash, and Ballpoint that they sometimes switched out for a machine. And oh, by the way, the Stamper sometimes switched out for an S-Blaster. It's literally like they just sit there and watch Pro Char stream and was like, let's just do that. And it worked. Slightly off meta. You could say that comp's off meta, right? I think it's fair to say that's off meta. And it worked out perfectly for them. And what's interesting is because Ikarioku wasn't using that comp. There's no way when they first played in low ink, there's no way they were using that kind of a comp. They just figured it out as they went along. And you know what the best part of this low ink is? I don't have to offer any apologies to anyone Who was the team that I said was going to win this low ink? It was, as I look at my notes for this is last episode of the Popcast. What did we say here? Let me hold on. Yes, I said it was Ikarioku. I was right. I picked the correct team to win low ink out of 160 some odd teams. I saw through all of them, and I said that's the team that's going to win, and I was right. That is the fourth time in about 45 low inks where I correctly guessed the winner. But hey, we got it right. Almost. There were some times where it didn't seem like it was going to come to fruition, but still, Ikarioku did what they were supposed to do. They were supposed to win this low ink. And of course, I'm going to bet on the team that in their first low ink that they played in, which was September of last year, they went 2-4 and didn't even sniff a Sunday bracket. Now, 10 low inks later, they're finding a way to come out on top. Now, is it the same exact roster that they had in September when they played in their first low ink? Is it the same exact roster to where they are today? Of course not. You very rarely see that kind of thing happen. Pick up a few players along the way here, and I believe all 4 players you saw on stream yesterday at least played in last month's low ink with that squad. They might have picked up one player who hadn't played with Ikarioku up to that point. But there's one player, Mirai. Is that pronounced Maria? I want to take a guess and say that is pronounced Maria, who's been the captain of Ikarioku this entire time, slowly adding pieces, slowly getting more skill, slowly building themselves into a contender, and eventually building themselves into a champion. Look, I don't care who wins low ink, if I'm being completely honest. But if I'm also being completely honest, I always root for teams like Ikarioku, teams that start off really low in low ink, that have a bad first tournament. That is a team that when the first time I talk about them on the Popcast, I'm usually saying something like, oh, wow, nice win you got there. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but I hope it all works out into your favor as you're going forward. It worked out into Ikarioku's favor. Why? Because they do that one thing that I tell you guys all to do, and JPEG's told you guys to do this before, and everybody who's banned from low ink tells you to do this. Play in tournaments other than low ink. Ikarioku plays in everything underneath the sun. Now, some of you are scared to do that because it might get you a result that gets you banned from low ink. And we do look at that. And yes, if you do pop off in another tournament, it is going to get you banned from low ink. Guess what? That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Yes, you don't get to win low ink like Ikarioku does, but look at all the teams that we've kicked out that are already ahead of where Ikarioku is, just in the past couple of months. But Ikarioku's going to be just fine because they're picking up where they've been leaving off with all these other open invite weekly tournaments they've been playing in. They didn't have to win this low ink. It's just a nice thing for them to have. It validates all the hard work that they got. They're now banned from low ink, which is what everybody should be looking for. But it's a feel-good story because now all these teams that didn't qualify for Sunday this month, that are going 2-4, that are going 1-5, and are feeling bad and are tweeting out, I played my first low ink. Man, we didn't do well, but I still had fun. That was Ikarioku 10 months ago. That could be you guys by the end of the year. Everybody's looking up to that. Those are the teams I like to see win low ink. Even though in the grand scheme of things, I don't really care. Congratulations to them. And we'll talk more about them and a bunch of other teams about who finished well in low ink in just a moment. Before we move on, though, a lot of highlighted stuff we'll get to real quick. Will Popgun Jr. become a head TO as well in the future? As much as that is a funny joke, it's not. When can I get my revenge in chess? When you can... What did we play? 5-minute no increment, and I won from a timeout, and I was already like +10 against you. get a rating above 1,300 on chess.com in what is it? It's not bullet. It's not in blitz. If you get a rating above 1,300 in blitz, come back and challenge me. Why was Team 6 afraid of Team 7? Because Team 7, 8, 9. Okay. That's, I don't have any factual information that I'm aware of Team 6 ever being afraid of Team 7, but that would make sense. If 7, like, absorbed Team 9, that would explain why they became so good. Can't wait for the winner is segment. We're fixing that. Nobody saw that. Nobody cared. Boom. Cool, Pop Gun, but did you miss the basket 8 times? Okay. Don't look at the matches that I ran Spec Cam at Low Tide City. There's no need to figure that out. Pop Gun correctly selects the winner of Low Ink 0.088% of the time. Yeah, well, how many times have you correctly guessed it, Owen? That's what I thought. It's pronounced Mirai, if you recall correctly. Whoa, wait. You said if you recall correctly, so you are admitting that you don't even know if it's pronounced correctly. But you're still saying, it might be pronounced this way. We might be both wrong. Yeah, well, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Isn't that right? Or if you're a Charger player, you just miss 100% of your shots in general. Hey, we want to talk about the Weeniers coming up. But before we get into that, there's some other events that went on this past weekend. It's time for the weekly recap. We already talked about SOS 112 at length, so we're not going to recover it here again. Let's talk about something else. Splatamax number 2 took place on Saturday. It was a top-level invitational, including 16 of the best teams in the West and Smoothie for some reason. Flippa Floppa is the team that finished in first place. Jackpot finished in second, and Zero Deaths beat Alliance Rogue to secure their third place spot. No, I did not do a full deep dive segment into Splatamax here, which I thought I might. The reason I did it is because there wasn't anything noteworthy to talk about that would have been more interesting for the audience to hear in Low Ink. And that sounds weird to say, but when Flippa Floppa finishes in first place, Jackpot coming close to beating them. If Jackpot beats Flippa Floppa, that's a great story. I could spend an hour talking about that. You could spend a lot of time talking about Zero Deaths popping off, how it adds more parity to teams from the West, which is great to see. But as far as Splatamax is concerned, more people were watching the Pro Chara host party than the actual stream, which is, I don't know how the TOs for that event feel about that, but regardless, it's good that these teams will all get to playing against each other, but nothing particularly surprising happened other than Zero Deaths finishing in third place. I don't know why Jackpot keeps counterpicking the same maps over and over again. It didn't work out the second time. They figured out a way to beat them. Surprise that. On the Barnacle and Dime Splat Zone map. Squid Junction number 45 was won by Nightmare Shui. In Control Red Sun finished in second place, and Bad finished in third. Congratulations to Nightmare by being sponsored by, I believe, Sway Esports. They were announced that on Saturday and then went out and won a first tournament underneath their new sponsorship. And they beat another sponsored team in Grand Finals in Control Red Sun. Red Sun entered that Grand Finals on the winner's side, beating Nightmare 3-2 in the winner's finals before getting reverse bracket reset and then 3-0'd by Nightmare to close out the tournament. But still, great run there by Red Sun, in Control Red Sun, following up the great run that they had in the Nintendo tournament the week prior. Following that up with a great event here in Squid Junction 45, proving that they have turned the corner. Are they at that echelon with Nightmare and Smoothie and, that epsilon as far as the North America is concerned? After back-to-back results like that, it's hard to argue against that. But at least Red Sun has our attention now going forward, and they're going to have the attention of everybody that's going to be looking to beat them to get Plus server results, even though nobody in Red Sun, to my knowledge, is in the Plus server. Oh, Rapid also popped off as well, finishing in 4th place. I believe beating... I don't have the bracket pulled up, so I'm not going to say, because I forget which team they actually beat. Megalodon Cup, the Rainmaker Edition, also ran on Saturday at the same time as Low Inc. and the same time as Splatamax. So I don't think there was a stream for this one. Shiba King finished in 1st place. The Punctuation Team, exclamation point, question mark, etc., finished in 2nd. And Gani Gang finished in 3rd place. 22 teams played in this double elimination MIT Rainmaker only tournament. It seems like every time this tournament takes place, it's a Rainmaker only tournament, or maybe that's just the only time that I'm actually paying attention to that. Fair enough. Nico, nice is in +2. Fair enough. Sindao Picnic number 2 took place on Sunday. Alliance Rogue finished in 1st place. New Meta took 2nd place, and Prominence finished in 3rd. This is the 2nd picnic tournament and another kind of test run for the Sindao.inc website. Sindao saying there were a lot of new features that made this one easier to run. Maybe eventually we'll be running all our tournaments on Sindao.inc instead of Battlefy and Challenge and Start.gg. The future. It's impressive. That was your weekly recap. Sponsored by SpecCam Controls. Admittedly, it's pretty difficult. It's a lot more difficult than you guys might think to run SpecCam and to do it effectively. If you've ever run SpecCam before, you've never done it with about 400 people watching you live and the commentators making fun of every mistake you made. To be fair, JPEG greenlit us making fun of him before we even went live. So, of course, we were going to hit on that. And we'll do it again in July, because guess who's running SpecCam next month, baby? Oh, it's the guy who is quote-unquote retired there. SpecCam Controls, your official sponsor of today's segment of the weekly recap. Splatamax stream did look good. I don't know. I know Falco did the first Splatamax. No idea who did the second one. I will say the Splatamax stream did sound good, because it had me and Dura on it. All right. Finish strong. Let's talk about the winners from Saturday. Looking at all of the different Swiss groups here. The overlays were made by Ink Fair. Really? We were in VC with Ink Fair. I don't think that was ever mentioned. But that makes sense, yeah. How about that? The Fallen Ravens is the team that gets the credit for having the highest opponent win percentage on Saturday. They had a 72.2% win percentage as a 4-2 record. They got key wins against Moonrise, Kubata 2 Euros, Painted Aura, Revelations as well. The Fallen Ravens played in Low Inc back in May. They went 3-3 in that tournament, finished 4-2 with technically the toughest Swiss schedule of all the teams that played over the course of the weekend. Fallen Ravens, all in lowercase letters. Another one of these, is that a grunge kind of name? Because there's a lot of these team names that seem like slightly serious and came up with like the in a not so silly tone. Fallen Ravens. Well, they rose up this time around. Nicely done going forward too. Almond Nuts. a heart-healthy snack for those of you that are getting a little bit on the older side. And by older, I mean you've turned at least 20. Went 5-1 in this past Lowing, getting key wins against Peachy Propaganda, Saddle Up, Say Horses, Deep Blues, no, not that Deep Blues, the Joke Raiders, and the Fallen Ravens. This Almond Nuts team appears to be a new team / pickup made up of Low Inc. veterans going 5-1 and making their way into Alpha Bracket as well. Speaking of Deep Blues, they went 4-2 in this tournament, racking up some key wins against the Joke Raiders, Not So Shrimple, Wormwind, and Rearmwind. That can't be an actual word. This team played in Little Squid League, which is why I talked about him last time, because, hey, I remember that Deep Blues name. That is not the actual Deep Blues team that was a top-level team that had Marsh on it, and I believe Power at one point. No, this is a brand new team that just so happens to have the same exact name. But you go 4-2, nicely done for them. Saddle Up, Say Horses. They went 4-2, getting some key wins over Virtuous Divine, Not So Shrimple, Coastal Squid, Surf, and Painted Aura. Saddle Up Seahorses went 2-4 in May, this time flipping their record around, going 4-2. Nicely done to them. The Hoot Hoot Recruits, possibly my favorite team name of all the teams in this tournament, went 4-2, getting some key wins over Objection, Not This Way, Frosty Salmons, and Irida. They went 3-3 when they played in Lowing back in April, taking the month off, coming back in June and going 4-2. The Hoot Hoot Recruits, which I have to assume is the Pokemon from Gen 2, which is when Pokemon stopped. There's no such thing as Gen 3 and beyond unless it's Stuffle, which quite honestly, I don't really know what generation Stuffle came from. I just like Stuffle. Get over it. Irida, speaking of them, it's not pronounced Iride because I listened to the Moray Taverns podcast during the pandemic, and I know this team is pronounced Irida. They went 4-2, getting key wins over Recovery +1, the Think Tank, with ink emphasized and think, get it? Asgard Guardians, and Onigiri. The last time we saw Irida play in Low Inc. all the way through was in February, where they finished at a 2-4 record. Nice to see them back, and nice to see them pop off going 4-2 this time around. The Black Squid Ink Burger. They went 5-1 in this tournament, getting key wins over the Harmonic Convergence, the Hoot Hoot Recruits, Audentes, Origami Dragons as well. The Black Squid Ink Burgers, last time we saw them was playing from the Ink Up, or maybe some of these players came from the Ink Up. Well, they glue the heck up and went 5-1 in this tournament. Alliance Moon went 4-2, getting some key wins over the Sunset Ravens, not to be confused with the Fallen Ravens. I'm assuming if you're flying into the sunset, you're doing anything but falling. They also got wins against Hanu, Photic Zone, and Ying Tao. Alliance Moon went 2-4 when they played in the March edition of Low Inc., this time going 4-2 after taking a couple of months off. I know they popped off and made top 32 several months ago, but it's good to see them get some good results since then. Double Trouble went 4-2, getting key wins against In the Trenches, Splatitui, the Slam Blitzers, and Scarlet Ink. Mostly newerish players making up this roster of Double Trouble. We expect some good things from them going forward. How about Tactifueler? I wasn't expecting them to play this well. They went 5-1 in this Lowing, getting key wins against Hydra, Photic Zone, the Salmon Blitzers, Calamity Forge Neo, and Carmeshi Colony. That is the row gallery of teams that they racked up wins against, going 3-3 the month prior back in May, and I believe not qualifying for Sunday. Correct me if I'm wrong. This time around went 5-1 and was ripping top 32 apart until they had their welcome to alpha bracket moment by matter of opinion. But up until that point, Tactifueler was looking pretty legit, and they backed it up with their gameplay. Nicely done. Scarlet Fizzy also went 5-1 in this tournament, getting key wins over Doxed, the Squid Splatters Supreme, mind you, Dark Masters, Malibu Rising, and the Whip Rays. Pop quiz. What did Scarlet Inc. do last month? I'll answer that before you can even give me the answer. It is they won Gamma Bracket. And what did they do? They elevated themselves to top 32 after going 5-1 on Saturday. We love to see teams continue to grind and improve. Speaking of which, nobody's been grinding / improving longer than Oofish, who went 4-2 in this tournament, getting key wins over Squid.png, Kiwi Ice Cream, New Wave, the Respawn Reapers as well. Oofish always plays better in low ink than they do in Little Squid League because there's no pressure on them to win Little Squid League, or there's no pressure on them to win low ink as there is just whenever they play in Little Squid League, because they always get stuck in the group of somebody they've never heard of that ends up winning the whole tournament. The Grisco Workers Union get another shout out here on the podcast for going 4-2, getting key wins over Dream Team, Shadow Squidzard Money Gang, Shadow Squizzard Money Gang, the Honor Bound, and Dragons. Now, if you remember, the Grisco Workers Union is a fake university that has been confirmed on Twitter to be not real. They made it up just so they could get into the CCA. There is not a real university called the Worcester Polytech Institute of Technology or whatever. Come on, CCA, get this underneath control. Hey, they're pretty good in the video game, even though they're a bunch of frauds outside of it. The big winner from Saturday, the biggest winner from the Swiss stage, goes out to none other than Sofa King's own, the Whip Rays, baby. They went 4-2, getting key wins over the Shadow Squizzard Money Gang, Fool's Gold, Eternal Oblivion, and beat Arcadia 3-0 on stream. They went 3-3 last month. Yes, they went 3-3 last month, not qualifying, I believe, for any bracket. Actually, I just lied. They actually qualified for Epsilon bracket, but they got eliminated in round 1 of losers bracket in Epsilon. This time around, glowing all the way up to beta bracket. Hell yeah, Whip Rays. I see you guys continuing to improve. Love to see it. And deserved to be recognized as the biggest winner from Saturday, in my opinion. What do you consider a low ink veteran? Anyone who's played in low ink a lot. It isn't a low ink rookie. Worm is actually a word. Oh, okay. Well, how do you pronounce it? How do you pronounce it? And what do you mean stop pronouncing what? Like what? What did I mispronounce? I probably mispronounced like 20 different things. Just worm? Wormwind? Worcester. Oh, I mispronounced Worcester. Wooster. Okay, well then why isn't it spelled Wooster? We're moving on. We are moving on to Delta bracket. There was no Epsilon bracket. In order for us to have an Epsilon bracket, we need to have 160 teams at the end of Swiss stage on Saturday. I don't think we even started the tournament with 160. I think we started with like 159 or something like that. So no Epsilon bracket this time around. It's going to take very special months for us to get an Epsilon bracket. and I think we've only had it like twice. So, but I'm glad that Delta has been sticking around for a little bit of time here as we're going to take a look at this version of the Delta bracket. Hey, there's our old pals, the Worm Wind team, as we now know how to pronounce them thanks to the not so idiots in chat. Some other teams I want to point out here in the Delta bracket. I want to talk about this team, SI, as they are the team that gets the credit for having the long losers run in this tournament. Getting after beating Wormwind 2-0 and losing to the Think Tank, they got racked up a couple of wins right here, making it all the way to round 5 of losers bracket before Wormwind got the better end of them. Who is C? They finished in 5th place of Little Squid League 30. Probably tied with about 8 other teams there. So you could say they also finished in 8th place. That means the same exact thing in that kind of scenario. But still, a good run for them here in this Delta bracket. And they did beat the team that ended up winning the whole thing in the end. So obviously they're just as good, if not better. Jellyhead 3. Now, whenever I see the word jelly, I automatically think of jelly squids. But no, this is Jellyhead number 3. Why are you guys all... Why... Team 7, Jellyhead 3. I don't know where all these sequels are coming from here, but this is clearly better than Jellyhead 1 and 2 after getting a couple of wins and making it to winners finals, ultimately finishing in 3rd place. Maybe that's why they're called Jellyhead 3. They called their own placement in Delta bracket ahead of time. We've seen these players play in From the Ink Up. I believe this is the first low ink they've been playing in. Correct me if I'm wrong, but nicely done to them getting 3rd place here. And, of course, we'll talk about the Think Tank. And if you look here specifically at the I is capitalized. So you have to refer to these guys as the Ink Tank. And that is why we're never going to have them on stream. They did pretty good in this tournament, though, making it all the way, getting a couple of wins in the winner side of things before losing to Photic Zone and Wormwind. Knocked them out in the loser side of the bracket. The last time we see them play, they played in low ink before, but I believe this is the first time they've actually qualified for day 2, and they made the best of it. So nicely done to them, getting knocked out in losers round 4. Those are my winners from this side of the bracket. The 2 teams that finished in grand finals, let's talk about them for a second. First off, Photic Zone. As I look at this roster a little bit closer, it's not the same exact Photic Zone team that was knocking on the door of winning low ink like 4 or 5 months in a row. A little bit different. Still good enough for them to get top 2 in Delta bracket. And I'm assuming no matter who is on this roster going forward, they're going to be just fine. They're going to be a strong team. It's just going to probably take them a little bit of time to figure out what their new roster is going to be like. They've already disbanded, so is this the end of it? Is that what you guys are saying? Yeah. Just saying, does he know in chat usually doesn't help out with any kind of information. Okay, so they disbanded after this. Fair enough. So, but you know when they disband, eventually a new team is going to show up out of nowhere. But that's the end of Photic Zone, so be it. Not the end for those players, I'm assuming. Wormwind, however, if you want to know, Wormwind wasn't supposed to be playing in day 2. This is several teams dropped on Sunday as they typically do, and I think maybe one team in top 32 didn't check in. So I think we had to bump everybody up. So Delta's usually the bracket, or if it's Epsilon that's the lowest, whatever the lowest bracket is, it gets a little bit awkward sometimes. You just get a bunch of teams in there that weren't typically supposed to be in there. Wormwind was not supposed to be in there and ended up winning the whole tournament. Now, they started off pretty slow, losing in round 1, but then swept their way. Did they lose a single game? No, they didn't lose a single game in losers bracket until losers finals, where they only dropped 1 game and then dropped 2 more games to Photic Zone and beat them 6 times. It's not unheard of. I can't think of any team off the top of my head, but I know there has been at least one other example of a team. It was back when Gamma was the lowest bracket, where a Gamma bracket team won it without even technically qualified for it. It's and I feel like it's happened in beta too. Like somebody moved up out of Gamma into beta and then won beta before. So congratulations to Wormwind. Now that I know how to pronounce your name correctly, deserved. I mean, when you make this kind of run through losers bracket against all these other teams that technically qualified for this bracket, and then you beat a team that has the name of Photic Zone, it's got to feel pretty good. And one for the trophy case. One team in top 30. That was you? Oh, that's right, the Lost Inklings. But I feel like somebody else dropped naturally at a top 32. I could be wrong about that. I feel like it was more than just one team with that. Let's look at Gamma before we move on to the actual top 32 stuff. The teams I want to talk about here in Gamma bracket. First off, let's go with Moonrise. Moonrise, the team that lost in round 1 to the team that ended up winning the whole bracket, took them to a game 3 and a best of 3. Went on the losers run of losers runs, almost, beating a lot of other teams on the way to a round 5 loss to Virtuous Divine. Moonrise, the last time they played in Low Ink, they went 3-3, which I'm assuming wasn't enough to qualify for a Sunday then. This time qualified for Gamma bracket and racking up a lot of wins and getting a lot of experience along the way. Hey, a team with the exclamation mark in their name just won Alpha bracket. Could Moonrise be the team that continues that trend? Probably not. But you like to see teams get into a bracket for the first time and take advantage of it. For this other team, though, that had this similar run to them, man, this was a tough bracket to lose, to go down into losers bracket, because it was just dominated by Moonrise and Virtuous Divine. Virtuous Divine running past all the other teams, including Moonrise, into a very contested best of 5 set against the Taco Bell Breakfast Burrito team before losing to them in a game 5. Virtuous Divine, if I haven't talked about them yet, I thought this was an old team. I felt like there was a team called Virtuous Divine, but as I looked at them again to do a little bit more research, I think this is the first time this team has been a thing, or at least these players have been underneath this team name of Virtuous Divine. I feel like that name was used before, or maybe I'm just confusing myself. Regardless, I think this is the first time this edition of Virtuous Divine is played, and they made it to 3rd place. Somebody's going to DM me that I was completely wrong about that. So be it. Eternal Oblivion's the other team I want to give a little bit of a shout out here to. Beat the Frosty Salmons, beat Saddle Up Seahorses in a game 5 before ultimately losing to the team that finished in 1st and Moonrise. Eternal Oblivion is it seemed like an EU pickup, but when you got a name like this, a very serious name, Eternal Oblivion, it's pretty dark too when you think about it. You got to get the sense this is an actual new team. It's got some players from Dive. That really long name nobody can pronounce that I believe just roughly translated to that waffle that you could get from Krusty Sean in Splatoon 2 for experience points. Eternal Oblivion doing a good job here in Gamma bracket. The teams that finished in the top 2, and this top 2 didn't last very long. Calamity Forge Neo is the team that won this whole tournament. Taco Bell Breakfast Club Burrito. This has to be a pickup. This has to be a pickup. There's no way this is an actual team name. And I'll be honest, I've never had a Taco Bell Breakfast Burrito before. I really don't trust that. I don't trust that's a good way to start off the day, just because my past experience with Taco Bell and how my body reacts to it is usually never pleasant. I'm assuming this is a pickup. It's made up of players that have made Alpha bracket before, so Alpha caliber players. I don't think this was the bracket they might have been hoping for, but they still popped off in this bracket, going all the way to Grand Finals anyways. Calamity Forge Neo. Is this a team I just flat out missed here? Because I saw some other people putting them maybe not in their top 10, but still speaking like this is the dark horse team you want to keep an eye on. Well, they won Gamma Bracket now, so this is a team I should definitely be keeping an eye on. Cactus, I see you in chat. Did you sub for this team, or you're just straight up were on this team? I thought we just put you on there as a sub. Looks like you were on that roster just to sub them. You did sub for them. Yeah, okay. They went 3-3 in April where they didn't qualify for Sunday. That was the last time they played in Low Inc. And now they're getting their first Gamma Bracket and popping off in that. So we'll keep an eye on Calamity Forge Neo going forward. Expect some great things from them. And apparently I've been sleeping on them, and everybody else has kind of been keeping up with them more than I have. Fair enough. Beta bracket. The 3 teams I want to talk about here, other than the team that won the whole thing, so that's 4. Let's go with Docs to start off here, the team that finished in second place. We saw these guys on stream, and when that was when Toby and Dura were commentating, which, by the way, I absolutely love it when Dura is commentating, because he makes fun of his commentator and actually draws some banter. It's not just 2 robots that are taking turn talking. It feels like you're generally watching 2 people who are just sitting on a couch and saying some of the things they're doing. It's absolutely hilarious and entertaining at the same time. But while they were doing that and Docs was on stream, some idiot in chat posted a fake IP address because they thought it was funny. Don't post fake ID addresses. It's not funny. And there's that random chance where it is actually somebody's IP address. Like, just don't do that. Like, come on. I am the least tech person a part of this whole production. All you idiots in chat are more tech savvy than I am. Even I know. Don't do that. Stop being weird. Regardless, is Docs the new team or a pickup? I don't know. Push Joke Raiders to the brink here, getting second place in this one. It looks like they didn't have an easy path all the way through this tournament of beta bracket either. So they survived a lot there. Just couldn't get the job done in this game 7. This beta bracket lasted longer than alpha, which is very bizarre. Usually our stream slows down alpha a bit, but this one went the distance, and we were in chat. The staff was looking at this in chat. We thought they just didn't report game 7. We thought they just ended their match and they forgot to report it. So we're like, are you guys done? What's going on here? And then all of a sudden you see both teams go in the chat and we're just like, GG's. That was great. That was fun. We should do this again. Like, both teams just like really excited with how this set ended. So I'm assuming both these teams enjoyed that best of 7 set that they played in this one. Congratulations for Joke Raiders to being the team that won it. The other 2 teams I want to talk about here, Karmeshi Colony, the team that ended up winning 3rd place overall in this one. They made beta last month, but got eliminated in round 1. This time around, going all the way to round 3rd place and winning that one. Docs to beat them in a game 5. Seemed like Karmeshi Colony was right there with everybody. Man, the Night Logic really pushed them to the brink as well. A very competitive beta bracket. And I got to say, nobody dropped out of beta bracket. We usually get somebody who goes 0-2 in top 32, and then they drop and don't even play their final round in top 32. That didn't happen this month. All these teams actually straight up played. So that's good to see, and it looks like it was a competitive bracket across the board. Outcast Ninjas, they finished in 4th place. They've won this bracket before. I feel like they've won beta a couple of times. And the Outcast Ninjas being the team that survived the whip race. Man, the whip race yet again, just having another fantastic run on Sunday to complement their great Saturday as well. Couldn't beat Outcast Ninjas in a game 5. Joke Raiders, though, being the team that wins all of this, a big step up for them. I think I had them somewhere in my top 10. If not, they are definitely going to be in the top 10 next month. I think I considered putting them in there, and then I was like, Ben Thick looking pretty thick. I don't know. So Joke Raiders definitely going to be a top 10 team going forward, though. They backed up their gameplay this month, getting in beta bracket and winning it. Let's talk about Alpha real quick. I mean, what can you say? What can you say? By the way, the if you're not used to being staff view of Battlefy, that's what you guys are looking at right here. These highlighted message streams are the ones that we're telling our streamers, the one that we're going to be watching right here. The teams I want to talk about here in Alpha Bracket. First off, I want to start off with Surf and Turf, who was in this same exact spot last month, Alpha Bracket, round 1, getting eliminated. I believe it was game 5 they lasted last time. This time around, this team who's going to be really good but is difficult to pronounce, Yggdrasil. This team is going to be pretty good going forward. That's not going to be a surprise. But Surf and Turf, I saw on their Twitter, obviously we know they kicked off a player at the end of last week, and but they still have enough players, obviously, to go and run all the way through this one. I saw them tweet out the end of the tournament that they all used new weapons for the first time, and that seems to be what their comp is going to be going forward. That's exciting to see. I'm glad they used new stuff and was able to find success with it. That could be what turns the tide and finally pushes them over the edge to being a contender, a consistent top 10 team. One of the weapons I saw them use was the Anaki Nova, Splattershot Nova, which is a fun weapon. I'm glad that a new weapon's been introduced. And you even saw, I was peeking on the Splatomax stream, I saw the Anaki Nova being used by the top level teams from time and time as well. Inkjet, Spam, Go, Burr. But yeah, Surf and Turf, I feel like is, if they really did use new weapons and they got this far in the first low week with those new weapons, then give them one more month to kind of grind out those weapons and get a good feel for how it works with each other. Surf and Turf could be really good going forward. Obviously, we got to talk about our top 3 teams here. Aquatic Vanguard, getting to the podium here, getting 3rd place. It's been a long time since they've gotten close to this podium. In fact, if I could do a little bit of research off stream here, I probably could have looked this up before, but we'll look at, we'll take a look at JPEG's Hall of Fame here. As you see, the July or the June low ink hasn't been up there. When was it that Aquatic Vanguard made podium? Or did they not even make top 3? Was it like top 4 where they got one? It must have been top 4 where they got that. By the way, there's something else with Ikaryoku I want to look up, because I think Ikaryoku might be the first team ever to win low ink, while also... Yeah, I guess Aquatic Vanguard didn't get top 4. Or they only got top 4 with that one. But while we're here, let's look up Ikaryoku. Did they win? They won a Gamma bracket 2 months in a row. Did they win a beta at any point? I don't think they did. No. So they've won Gamma. Okay, I thought they were going to be the first team ever to... And we've never had that. We've never had a team win Gamma, Beta, and Alpha before. We've had teams win like 2 of those brackets. We've never had a team win all 3. But Ikaryoku won Gamma 2 months in a row. Still, regardless, I'm happy for Aquatic Vanguard. I'm glad that they finally found some ways to get back into this bracket that they're in. It's hard to trust them though. They've been so up and down and all over the place. There's no telling how good they're going to be a month from now. It's impossible to predict. It feels like this was just the month where they really got hot and they were able to get a good string of wins put together. I mean, the comp, the more I think about the comp they used in that Splat Zones Hagglefish game, the more I guess it makes sense. But I don't know. I'd be hesitant to jump on the Aquatic Vanguard bandwagon just yet, just because of how inconsistent they've been. But still, actually, Aquatic Vanguard, if they were to win, they might be the first team, because I know they've won a beta and I feel like they've won a Gamma as well. They could be the first team to win all 3 of those brackets. The team that finished in 2nd place, Team 7. I already talked about how silly their comps were and how entertaining they were. If you want to know who they actually are, the question is, we don't know. We didn't know much about them when we were looking into them verification-wise. I think one of their players we could confirm who they were, and the rest appeared to be new or newer-ish, but we could still kind of verify that they were at least humans that should be allowed into Lowing. It seems like most of you have seen them, though. I saw some people in chat, and my wife was telling me yesterday that this is a team that's been running through Open and League a lot. That kind of reminds me of Drifting Tide, a team that you only ever saw play League for like 4 years until they finally got into competitive. So as you guys saw that tag, maybe that just made it more recognizable to you guys that it could be just like an Open team finally getting into competitive. And they played an Open comp. That's definitely what they were using. But your first time playing in a tournament, you get second place. And it wasn't easy for them. They lost to, I believe, Elemental's team. I think Overtime beat them at one point. Somebody else, they didn't win their group. They went 2-1. So they took another L as well. So they lost 3 times. And none of these matches were easy. They had to reverse sweep Chubata 2 Euros. They were always constantly down to Ikarioku. Like, this was a tough tournament for them to get all the way up to this plot here. And by the way, they're also the only team to beat Ikarioku. Ikarioku lost to them round 1 of Swiss stage. I bet you Ikarioku is the only team ever to lose round 1 of Swiss and still win Lowing. I'd be willing to bet that statistic is true. But going forward, Ikarioku wins this tournament. What is the future like for them? Their future was already set. It didn't matter if they win this tournament or not. They were already going to go on and do great things because they always play in tournaments. And I encourage everybody else to do that. Play as many tournaments as you can. Who cares if you pop off and accidentally beat a team that you're not supposed to? People will give you recognition on Twitter for that. And if you're good enough, which if we ban you from Lowing, it's because we think your results are consistent enough to where we think you're good enough. You're going to go on and keep getting more and more results like that. Ikarioku, this is just the beginning for them. They're a new team starting in Splatoon 3, and they're just going to keep grinding and going forward. And Prochar is going to be their biggest fan after he finds out what their comp they used yesterday was. Oh. A scuffed production episode of the Popcast, but we got through it. So that's going to do it for today's episode. Next week, we're probably going to talk about SAC, or maybe we'll find somebody to talk to, get an interview going. I don't know. I'm just counting down the days, man. I got like 1 more month and some change before Popgun Jr. is born. We're just cranking through. We're just getting through the days until we get to meet our son for the first time. With that being said, if you'd like to be a part of the podcast anyway, feel free to reach out on my socials below. Twitter, Mr._Popgun, Discord, Popgun, YouTube at 25 Popgun, Twitch at Popgun25, Anchor.fm/Popgun. Let's find somebody we haven't rated ever before in our lives. I have no idea who this person is, so let's just go rate him and see what happens. Make sure you guys stay safe, get vaccinated, don't do anything dumb, protect your friends from evil people, and if we could get some confirmation that Team 1 through 6 are still alive and well, that would be awesome.